I told you it would work out.
You totally did. I'm so glad we came here. I told you it would work out.
Seriously, that's amazing, B. We have to celebrate tonight.
I had never been good at hiding my feelings, but for years, I managed to keep my crush on Laura buried deep. Every day, I watched her from afar, laughing with her friends, her perfectly styled hair glinting in the sun. I told myself it was fine, that I was patient, that maybe someday she'd notice me. Today, though, I had decided I couldn't wait any longer. "Hey, Laura," I called, my voice shaking slightly. "Can we talk for a minute?" She looked up from her phone, her brow lifting. "What is it, poor boy?" "Don't tell me you're gonna ask me for money next," she teased, smirking. I forced a laugh, trying to mask my nerves. "No, nothing like that. I just wanted to say something. Something important." Her smirk softened a little. "Important, huh? Well, you better make it quick. I have somewhere to be." I swallowed hard and took a step closer. "Laura, I've liked you for a long time. I know I'm not rich, I know I don't have a fancy car or whatever, but She laughed, cutting me off. "Oh my God, you're serious?" Her voice carried a mixture of amusement and disgust. "You think I'd ever go out with someone like you? Someone who lives in that rundown neighborhood, with nothing to his name?" My chest tightened. I had imagined this moment 100 times, but never like this. "Laura, I'm not asking for your money. I like you. That's all. I want to be with you." She rolled her eyes and glanced at her friends nearby. "With you? Seriously? You think I would lower myself like that? I have standards, you know." I could feel the heat rising to my face, shame mixing with hurt. "So, that's it? You don't even want to hear me out?" She laughed again, louder this time. "Hear you out? Please. I've heard enough. Maybe if you had a job that mattered, or a house that wasn't falling apart, we could talk. But right now? No way. Sorry, not sorry." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I wanted to scream, to argue, to make her see me for who I was, not what I had. But all that came out was a shaky breath. I see," I managed, trying to keep my voice steady. "I guess. I just thought, maybe you'd feel something too." Her smirk returned, sharper than before. "Feel something? Honey, you're delusional. You need to wake up and smell the reality. You'll never be in my league. Never. Got it?" I nodded, my hands clenching into fists at my sides. I wanted to storm off, but I knew any sudden movement would make me look pathetic. So instead, I took a deep breath. "Yeah. I got it. Thanks for being honest." She shrugged, already turning away. "Don't mention it. Try not to waste your time pining after someone like me, okay?" I watched her walk away, laughing with her friends, completely unaware of the storm she had just left inside me. I felt every step I took away from her as if I were sinking deeper into the ground. But even in the middle of that pain, something strange stirred. A tiny spark that whispered I wasn't done. Not yet. Not with life, not with myself, not with her. I might be nothing to her now, but I promised myself one thing: one day, I would be someone she couldn't ignore. As I walked home that evening, my chest ached and my eyes stung, but my mind was already plotting. Every insult, every laugh, every cruel word she had thrown at me became fuel. I would rise. I would change. And one day, she would see me differently. Today, I was broken. But tomorrow, I would be unstoppable. I thought walking away from Lara would make the pain fade. It didn't. Every corner of my neighborhood, every sound, every laugh reminded me of her smirk, her cruel words. I tried to bury myself in work, but even that felt meaningless. "Hey, you okay, man?" my friend Samir asked as we sat on the steps outside our apartment. I shook my head, staring at my shoes. Samir. I don't think I can ever forget her. It's like she humiliated me, and I can't. I can't stop thinking about it. He frowned. Dude, she's not worth it. Trust me. That girl, she's shallow. You deserve better. I laughed bitterly. Better? Better how, Samir? I have nothing. No money, no connections, no chance with someone like her. You have me. You have family. That's worth more than her fake world, he said softly. I shook my head again, my chest tightening. It's not the same. You don't get it. It's like, she's everything I wanted, and she doesn't even see me. And the worst part? I can't stop thinking about her. Samir leaned back, sighing. Man, sometimes life's just unfair. People like her, they hurt you, and it feels like there's no escape. I clenched my fists. No escape? There has to be. I can't stay like this, Samir. I can't keep living with this emptiness. I have to do something. He looked at me, a little worried. Do what, though? What can you do? I stared into the distance. I don't know yet. But I promise. I'll find a way. I'll rise, and one day, she'll regret how she treated me. Whoa, Samir said slowly. That's intense, man. Just, don't let this ruin you. I won't ruin myself, I said, my voice firmer than I felt. I'll change. I'll be better than her world, better than everyone who looked down on me. I just need time. Time. The word echoed in my mind as I trudged home that evening. I passed the corner shop where Lara had laughed with her friends weeks ago, her voice still ringing in my ears. I clenched my jaw. I'll get there, I whispered to myself. But reality hit hard. At home, my mother sighed when she saw my expression. Rashid, you're still thinking about her? I avoided her gaze. I can't help it, Mom. She humiliated me. I can't just forget that. She placed a hand on my shoulder. Son, people hurt us. It's part of life. You have to focus on what you can control. Don't let her rejection define you. I shook my head. It already has, in every way that matters. You're young, she said gently. You'll have other chances. Other people will see the real you. Don't waste your energy hating her. I'm not wasting it, I said quietly, my throat tight. I'm using it. Every insult, every laugh, every word she said, it's all fuel. I'll prove her wrong. I have to. Days passed, but the pain didn't fade. If anything, it grew sharper. I noticed every wealthy kid in school, every glance at my worn shoes, every whisper. He'll never be enough for her, people murmured. And they were right, for now. One evening, Samir and I sat on the roof, looking at the city lights. You're going to explode one day, he said. I smirked faintly. Maybe. Or maybe I'll rise so high they'll all regret doubting me. Including her. You really mean that? He asked. I do, I said, staring into the dark horizon. I'm done feeling powerless. Done being invisible. She might have laughed at me, but that's over. I'll work. I'll fight. I'll survive, and one day, she'll see me standing where she can't touch me. Samir nodded slowly. I hope you're right, man. I really do. I didn't tell him the full truth, how much I wanted her to see me not just as successful, but as someone she once dismissed, someone she should have valued. That thought burned inside me more than my own failures ever could. I spent that night staring at the ceiling, replaying every word, every laugh, every look. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. And yet, for the first time since her rejection, I felt something new, an unshakable determination. I'll rise, I whispered to the dark room. Not for anyone else, for me. But she'll learn too. She'll regret the day she looked down on me. I promise that. The fall had been brutal. Humiliation, heartbreak, despair. But in the rubble of my failure, I found the spark of something stronger. I would rise from this, and nothing, not her, not poverty, not anyone, would stop me. And deep down, I knew the world would notice when I did. Voice script 1 equals. I couldn't stop thinking about that day, about Laura, about every insult. But something inside me had shifted. The pain wasn't just hurt anymore, it was fuel. I started looking for ways out of the life that kept me powerless. Rashid, you're awake early, Samir said one morning, raising an eyebrow as I pored over my notebook at the kitchen table. I can't sleep, I muttered. And I've been thinking. I need to do something. Something big. He leaned over my shoulder. Like what? Start a business? Study harder? Both, I said, snapping my notebook shut. I need a chance. A way to prove I'm not the same kid she laughed at. I don't care if it takes years, I'll get there. I'll rise. Samir shook his head. You're talking like you've got a plan. You don't even have money for the bus. Then I'll work for it, I said, my voice firmer than I felt. I'll take any job, save every penny. I'll learn skills, connections, everything I need. And one day, she won't even recognize me. Man, you sound obsessed, Samir said quietly. Obsessed or determined, I shot back. There's a difference. That same week, I started small. I took a job at a local store, cleaning, stocking, anything they needed. The hours were long, the pay barely enough, but I stayed late every night learning everything I could about running a business, about management, about money. Rashid, you've been at it for hours again, my boss said one night. Don't you ever rest? I'll rest when I'm done being broke, I replied, wiping sweat from my brow. And I won't stop until I'm in control. Even at work, I kept thinking about Laura. Not in the way she haunted me before, now it was sharper, focused. She laughed at me. She humiliated me. She made me feel small, I muttered one night to myself. I'll show her what small looks like, from the top. I also started saving every coin, cutting unnecessary expenses, reading about investments, following business blogs, and watching wealthy entrepreneurs online. I found a mentor online, a retired businessman willing to give me advice for free if I worked hard. You really think you can do it? Samir asked skeptically one evening as I explained my plan. I don't think, I said. I know. I'll start with small wins, then bigger ones. I'll network, learn, and grow. And eventually, I'll reach her. He laughed nervously. You're planning to crush her ego too? I'm planning to be someone she can't ignore, I said, feeling a thrill at the thought. If she sees me succeed, if she sees me rise, she'll understand what she threw away. Months passed, and I kept to my plan. Work, study, learn, save. I endured exhaustion, ridicule, even jealousy from others. I barely saw friends, barely laughed. Every night, I studied, every day I worked. My life was boring to anyone else, but for me, it was purpose. One afternoon, I met my mentor for the first time. "Rashid, you've got fire," he said, peering at my notebook filled with plans. "Most kids with your background give up. But you're serious. Very serious." "I have no choice," I replied. "If I don't change, I'll always be the boy she mocked. Always the poor guy in the corner." "Good," he said. "Then let's start building something that lasts." As I walked home that evening, I realized something strange. I didn't hate her anymore. Not exactly. My feelings had transformed into determination, into a craving to rise above, into strategy. "She won't ruin me again," I whispered. "Not emotionally, not socially, not ever again." Even Samir noticed the change. "You're different, Rashid. More focused, more alive, maybe." I smiled faintly. "I've learned something. Pain is useful if you use it right. And humiliation is the best teacher. I'm going to learn fast and rise higher than anyone expects." And so I did. Each day, each task, each late-night study session became part of my transformation. I was no longer the boy she rejected. I was becoming a man with ambition, vision, and the quiet, simmering fire of revenge. One night, staring at my reflection in the cracked mirror of our tiny apartment, I whispered, "One day, she'll see me. And when she does, she'll understand the mistake she made. She'll wish she never laughed at me." The world was still against me. Poverty, lack of connections, ridicule, but I had something more powerful than all of that: purpose. And now, nothing could stop me. I hadn't expected to see her. Not here, not now, not after all the time I'd spent building myself from the ground up. Yet there she was, standing by the coffee shop, laughing with her friends as if she owned the world. My chest tightened. "Laura?" I said, barely above a whisper. She turned slowly, her eyes widening as they landed on me. "Rashid?" Her voice faltered for the first time in my memory. "Is that really you?" I smiled faintly, letting a hint of confidence slip through. "Yeah, it's me." She blinked, scanning me from head to toe. You look different. Taller, more. I don't know, successful?" I laughed softly, letting the words hang in the air. "You think?" "I've been working." Her friends giggled nervously beside her. "Who's he?" one of them whispered. Lara waved a hand dismissively. "Ignore him, he's nothing." I felt the old sting of humiliation, but it was weaker now, replaced by something sharper. "Nothing?" That's funny, because I think I'm exactly the opposite of nothing now. She frowned, clearly trying to mask surprise. You've changed. But it's just... I don't know." "Don't know what?" I asked, stepping closer. "Are you impressed? Shocked? Or maybe regretting the way you treated me?" She looked away, fiddling with her purse strap. I didn't think things were different back then. You were poor and that mattered more than anything else? I cut in, my voice low but controlled. "Yes, I know. You didn't see me. You laughed at me. You humiliated me. I remember every word." Her lips pressed together. "Rashid." Don't, I interrupted, holding up a hand. I don't need excuses. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to see how far I've come compared to you. Her friends were whispering frantically now. She didn't know him back then, one murmured. I guess not, Lara said quietly, glancing at them, then back at me. You look like someone else. I mean, wow. You've really changed. I smirked. You could say that. And I didn't get here by standing still. By the way, I'm in charge of the project you're working on. Her eyes went wide. Excuse me? The project, I repeated evenly. The one your company is pitching. I'm leading it. And you, well, you'll be following my decisions from now on. She swallowed hard, taking a step back. Wait, what? How, what do you mean? I shrugged, calm but deliberate. It's simple. I'm the one with the influence, the connections, the knowledge. You're reliant on me if you want this project to succeed. Funny, isn't it? How the tables turn. Her hands trembled slightly. Rashid. I didn't expect. You didn't expect me to rise, I said softly. You didn't think I could. And yet, here I am. She looked at me like I had become a stranger. I should have listened. I should have. You should have, I said, letting the words cut. But you didn't. And now, we're standing here, and I'm the one deciding the next steps. Silence fell for a moment, broken only by the faint chatter of the cafe around us. She opened her mouth to say something, then closed it again. Her pride, usually so sharp, faltered. I guess. I have to follow your lead, she admitted, voice low. Exactly, I said. I'm not here to humiliate you, at least, not yet. I'm here to see if you've learned what it means to underestimate someone like me. She nodded slowly, eyes flicking down. I understand. I won't forget this. I let the moment linger, savoring it. Not out of cruelty, but out of the satisfaction of seeing her stunned, humbled, forced to realize she had misjudged me. You'll get used to it, I said finally, straightening my shoulders. This is just the beginning. Don't make the mistake of thinking I'm the same boy you rejected years ago. I'm not. And soon, you'll see just how different I've become. She looked up, her voice barely a whisper. Rashid, you're remarkable. I smiled faintly, the thrill of control surging through me. I told you I would rise. And now. I have. The next few days were surreal. Everywhere I turned, I felt her presence, Lara's tension, her subtle glances, the way she adjusted her words whenever I was near. And I had to remind myself to stay calm, to stay in control. Rashid, my assistant called, poking her head into my office. Lara just emailed about the Johnson project. She wants to discuss the proposal in person. I leaned back in my chair, smiling faintly. Good. Schedule it for tomorrow. I want to see her reaction when she realizes she's answerable to me. She hesitated. She's usually pretty confident. That's the point, I said, tapping my pen on the desk. Confidence when it's deserved. This isn't one of those times. The next day, I arrived early at the office. Lara walked in, flawless as ever, her heels clicking against the marble floor. She froze for a moment when our eyes met. That familiar panic flickered across her face. Rashid, she said, voice careful. I wanted to go over the proposal. I think we should. I held up a hand, stopping her mid-sentence. No need to rush. Let's sit and review it together. Her brow furrowed. Together? Yes, I said evenly. You're going to be relying on my decisions for this project, so it's better if we're clear from the start. She swallowed, sitting down cautiously. Right, of course. I pulled up the project file and began. First, the budget allocation. I noticed a few discrepancies in your estimates. Care to explain? Her cheeks flushed slightly. I thought these numbers were accurate. I'll double-check them. Good, I said, leaning back. Double-check everything. Accuracy matters. I won't tolerate mistakes. Not anymore. She nodded, her fingers fidgeting with her pen. I understand. Also, I continued, scanning the report, your timeline seems overly optimistic. I know you like to work fast, but precision counts more than speed. Adjust accordingly. Of course, she whispered. Her eyes flicked up at mine. I didn't realize. I let her trail off. You didn't realize what? I asked softly. That. I wouldn't have the authority to challenge decisions, she admitted, voice low. I smiled faintly. You'll learn quickly. And don't worry, I'm not trying to make things hard for you. I'm showing you what control looks like. Something you should have respected before, maybe. Her lips pressed together, her usual pride nowhere in sight. I see. I leaned forward, letting my gaze linger. You see now, don't you? The tables have turned. It's not about wealth, connections, or looks. It's about skill, determination, and knowing your place in a system. Something I had to learn the hard way. She swallowed again, nodding slowly. I guess I did underestimate you. I wasn't prepared for this. Prepare yourself, I said, soft but firm. This is only the beginning. I'll guide the project, make the decisions, and you'll learn to respect that authority. Slowly, if necessary. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened her notebook. I will. I promise. The thrill of control coursed through me. I could see it in her eyes, fear, respect, humility. Not humiliation exactly, but a realization that she wasn't in charge anymore. You're doing fine, I added, keeping my tone measured. Follow the instructions, check your numbers, and remember, I didn't get here by being reckless. Neither should you. She nodded, biting her lip. I understand. Thank you for the guidance. I let a moment pass, then leaned back, relaxing. One day, you'll understand why I had to rise the way I did. Until then, follow carefully, learn quickly, and don't make the same mistake twice. Her gaze flicked up, and for a second, I saw something I hadn't expected, fear mixed with respect, a quiet acknowledgement that I was no longer the boy she had dismissed years ago. I smiled faintly, letting the satisfaction sink in. Good, I said. Now, let's move on to the next section. As she began explaining the details, I realized how far I had come. From that boy humiliated in the street, to the man in charge, watching the girl who rejected me stumble under my quiet authority, it felt intoxicating. But more than that, it felt deserved. I was no longer powerless. I was in control. And every word, every glance, every subtle reaction from her reminded me, patience, strategy, and determination always win. This was only the beginning, and I was ready. The day finally came when I knew I couldn't hold back anymore. Lara had been faltering, careful with every word, every glance, every gesture, and I realized it was time to let her see the full extent of what I had become. "Rashid, are you sure about this?" my assistant asked nervously as we prepared for the meeting. This is going to shock her." I smiled faintly. "Exactly. It's time she understood who she's dealing with. Not the boy she rejected. Not the poor kid. Me." She hesitated. "You don't want to humiliate her too much?" "Humiliate?" I repeated softly, letting the word linger. "No. I want her to recognize the truth. That she misjudged me. That she underestimated me. That her arrogance had consequences." The office door opened, and there she was, Lara. Perfectly composed, but her eyes flicked to mine as soon as she walked in. That subtle shake in her posture, the way she held her purse tighter, it was everything I had been waiting for. "Rashid," she said cautiously. I thought we were just reviewing the project today." I leaned back in my chair, letting the calm, confident version of myself take over. "We are. But I think it's time we also addressed another topic. You know, the past." Her eyes widened slightly. "The past?" "Yes," I said, keeping my tone steady. "You remember when you laughed at me? When you humiliated me for being poor?" Her lips pressed together. "Rashid, that was—" "No," I cut her off. "No excuses. You made a choice, and it affected me. And now, you see me in a position of power, influence, and control. And I think it's only fair that you understand what that means." She swallowed, her hands trembling slightly. I don't understand." How did you?" I smiled faintly. "I built myself. From nothing. I studied, I worked, I invested every bit of energy I had. And now, not only do I lead this project, but I also control the outcome of several key initiatives in this company. And you? You're dependent on me if you want success." Her eyes widened, a flicker of fear and disbelief crossing her face. "Dependent? But I thought I was." You thought you were in control," I said softly. "Funny, isn't it? How the tables turn." Her voice shook. "Rashid. I never expected." "Exactly," I said. "You didn't expect me to rise. You didn't expect that the boy you humiliated would become someone you couldn't ignore. And now, here I am." She stared at me, speechless. Her pride, once sharp and untouchable, had crumbled. I see," she whispered. I made a mistake." "You did," I said simply. "And I don't hold grudges out of cruelty. I want you to learn from this. To understand what it means to underestimate someone based on wealth, status, or appearances. That arrogance, it has consequences." Her voice was barely audible. "And what now? What are you going to do?" I leaned forward, letting the moment stretch. "What I've done all along. I'm in charge. You follow my lead, respect my decisions, and maybe you learn something valuable. Or you stumble. The choice is yours now. But I'm done being ignored, laughed at, or dismissed. That version of me is gone." She swallowed hard. "Rashid. I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything," I replied. "Just understand. This isn't revenge for the sake of cruelty. It's a lesson. A revelation. You misjudged me once. Don't let it happen again. Her eyes flicked down, her fingers twisting in her lap. I understand. I won't forget this. That's enough for now, I said, leaning back, a calm satisfaction settling over me. Focus on the project. Follow the instructions. Pay attention to every detail. Mistakes are no longer just inconveniences. They're risks you can't afford. She nodded slowly, glancing up at me with a mixture of fear, respect, and something else, admiration, maybe, or the realization of what she had lost. I allowed myself a small, satisfied smile. Good. Now, let's get started. As we worked, I noticed the subtle shifts in her posture, her careful choice of words, her hesitation before speaking. Everything about her had changed. And for the first time, I realized that power wasn't about wealth or status alone, it was about control, patience, and the quiet satisfaction of seeing someone recognize their mistake. I wasn't cruel. I was measured. I was confident. And Laura? She had learned, finally, the value of underestimating no one. By the end of the day, I felt a strange sense of closure, not revenge, not hatred, but quiet triumph. I had risen, and she had seen it. The boy she rejected years ago no longer existed. And in his place stood a man she could never ignore. I leaned back in my chair, watching her carefully take notes, and whispered to myself, this is only the beginning. The days that followed were intoxicating. Every move I made seemed to unsettle her. The once proud Laura now hesitated, measured her words, and even questioned herself before acting. Watching her struggle without directly hurting her felt powerful, but not cruel. It was justice served quietly, with patience and precision. Rashid, my assistant, whispered as we walked through the office, she's asking for extra guidance today. She's nervous. I smirked. Good. Let her be. She'll learn more in these moments than she ever did laughing at me. The next meeting confirmed it. She walked in, notebook clutched tightly, trying to maintain that composure I knew was slipping. Rashid, she began, voice careful, I checked the budget again, and I think the numbers align better now. But I wanted to ask your advice on. Advice? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Funny, a year ago, you laughed at me, dismissed me, and now you ask for guidance? Her cheeks flushed. I just want to do this right. The last thing I'd want is to fail? I finished for her. Exactly. And that's why you listen. I've been in situations you couldn't imagine, learned lessons you can't buy, and now, you follow my lead. Understand? Yes, she whispered, eyes down. I understand. I leaned back, enjoying the subtle shift of power. She wasn't humiliated, not openly, but she was aware, painfully aware, that she had misjudged me. And it wasn't just the work. Her social confidence, her usual arrogance, even the casual way she had once walked through life, all seemed tempered. Later, in the break room, I overheard her speaking quietly to a colleague. I can't believe how much he's accomplished. How capable he is. I misjudged him. I grinned, sipping my coffee. She finally gets it, I muttered to myself. That afternoon, I called her into my office for a one-on-one review. Sit, I said calmly. She complied, eyes flicking nervously. Rashid. Stop, I said, holding up a hand. No apologies. No excuses. You're learning, that's enough. The point isn't to feel bad. The point is to recognize mistakes and adjust. That's how people survive, succeed, and, sometimes, get second chances. She nodded slowly, swallowing hard. I'll do better. I promise. I studied her for a moment, letting the tension build before I spoke again. Do you know what I remember the most? I asked, leaning forward. Not the laughter, not the humiliation, the arrogance. Thinking wealth and status made you untouchable. Thinking you could dismiss someone like me without consequence. Her hands trembled slightly. I didn't realize. Exactly, I said softly. You didn't realize. But now you do. And that knowledge is power. For you, if you use it wisely. For me, it's satisfaction. Karma works in strange ways, Lara. Sometimes it's loud, sometimes it's quiet, but it always comes around. She lowered her gaze. I understand now. I won't underestimate anyone again. I let the words hang. Good. You'll need that mindset if you want to survive in this world. And trust me, you will need it. Her voice shook as she admitted, I see how wrong I was. Anne. I regret how I treated you. I nodded slowly. Regret is natural. But what's more important is what you do next. Will you change? Will you act differently? She looked up at me, eyes glistening with something between fear, respect, and remorse. I will. I promise, Rashid. I'll work hard. I'll be better. Good, I said, leaning back. Because this isn't about revenge anymore. It's about growth, for both of us. I've risen, yes. But the real lesson is learning what matters. Skill, determination, patience, and respect. You've learned that the hard way. She swallowed, nodding slowly. I get it. I do. And thank you. For showing me. I smiled faintly. Don't thank me. Thank yourself. For realizing the truth. For adjusting. For surviving this, the way you should have years ago. As she left my office, I felt a strange satisfaction, not just because she had faltered, not just because she had learned, but because I had remained calm, composed, and strategic. Karma wasn't loud, dramatic, or cruel. It was quiet, deliberate, and effective. And watching her adjust, carefully, deliberately, to the reality she had once ignored, it was perfect. That evening, as I walked home, I realized how far I had come. From the boy humiliated in the street, rejected and powerless, to the man in control, calm and unstoppable, I had not just survived, I had thrived. And every glance, every hesitant word, every subtle gesture from her reminded me, patience and strategy always win. The fire inside me burned brighter than ever. I had taken the first step, the decisive step, in turning humiliation into triumph. And I knew, the final part of this journey was near. The reckoning, the ultimate closure, the moment when everything fell into place. And I was ready. It had been months since I first confronted Lara in the office. Months since the tables turned, and she realized that the boy she had dismissed was no longer powerless. Yet, even now, every interaction reminded me of how far I'd come, and how far she had fallen. Rashid, she said softly one afternoon, as we walked out of a meeting together, I want to thank you. I've learned so much. Not just about work, about life. I kept my gaze straight ahead, letting the quiet weight of my presence speak before I replied. You've learned quickly. That's good. But don't forget, the lessons come from your own choices, your own mistakes. I only showed the consequences. Her eyes flicked down, voice quiet. I realize now how wrong I was, how much I misjudged you. I don't know if I can ever make up for it. You don't need to, I said softly. This isn't about punishment. It's about understanding, growth, and respect. That's the closure I was waiting for. She hesitated, then asked, Do you ever regret it? All of this? The way things happened between us? I paused, considering her words. No. I don't regret it. Not the rejection, not the humiliation. Every moment led me here. Every insult, every sneer, it pushed me to rise. And now, I'm stronger, wiser, more myself than I ever was. Her voice trembled slightly. And me? What do I take away from this? You take away what I hope everyone takes away when they misjudge someone, I said calmly. Respect. Awareness. Humility. And maybe, a reminder that arrogance and pride can cost you more than you ever realize. She nodded slowly, tears glistening in her eyes. I see it now. I understand. And I will carry that lesson. We walked in silence for a moment, the city bustling around us. I realized that closure wasn't loud, dramatic, or humiliating. It wasn't about revenge. It was about calm, quiet triumph. About knowing that I had risen and that she had learned, not because I crushed her, but because life had revealed the truth. You've changed a lot, she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Not just in work, you're different. I allowed myself a small smile. I had to change. To survive. To grow. And to make sure that I control my own life, not let circumstances or people dictate it. I've learned how to rise above, and I've learned how to be patient. She glanced at me, voice soft. I envy that. I wish I had understood sooner, the way you do now. You can, I said gently. It's never too late to learn, to grow, to be better. That's what life is about. Not wealth. Not pride. Not status. Understanding yourself and the world around you, and acting with intention. Her lips pressed together, her eyes downcast. I'll remember that. I promise. We reached the building's entrance, and she stopped. Rashid. I hope we, maybe someday, not as before, but I hope we can work together, in understanding. I respect you. I nodded, the quiet satisfaction in my chest warming me. That's enough for now. Respect and understanding, that's all I needed. The past doesn't define us anymore. The present does. She smiled faintly, a hint of relief in her eyes. Thank you, for everything. As I watched her walk away, I felt a calm settle over me. The fire that had burned for revenge and recognition had softened into something more enduring, a quiet, confident knowledge that I had survived, thrived, and controlled my destiny. I had been broken, humiliated, underestimated, and rejected, but none of it had destroyed me. I whispered to myself, a smile tugging at my lips, I've risen, and I will keep rising. Not for her, not for anyone else, but for me. And with that, I turned toward the city, toward my future, toward the life I had fought to build. The boy who had been rejected was gone. In his place stood a man who understood the power of patience, determination, and self-respect. And that man would never be ignored again.